Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
When some wild-eyed 8-foot-tall maniac grabs your neck, taps the back of your favorite head up against a barroom wall, he looks the Chris in the eye and he asks if you've paid your dues.
Inconceivable!
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Yes, it is alive right here. This is Geek Public Radio on geekpublicradio.com. And we are just getting back from this past weekend from InConJunction 39.
Well, we're not just getting back. We're just to the point where we can function again.
Getting back and operating,
Yeah.
I should say.
It's been hot. It's a lot hotter up here when there's no air conditioning.
Well, that happens.
And I get grumpy when I get overheated.
But, you know, we got to spend the entire weekend in air conditioning.
Yeah.
And
that was glorious.
We had a great time. We talked to a lot of interesting people. Mm-hmm. We talked to a lot of, checked out a lot of cool things. We did a lot of fun things for the show. We did more
con stuff than we usually do, too.
Right.
Like walked around and actually participated instead of just reporting on what we seen. There, you happy? I'm closer to the mic.
Yeah, but you get quieter every time.
I always think I'm screaming into the thing, so
you're not.
I float away and drop my voice because it's
you have the exact opposite of Eddie.
He's got one volume. Much like my grandpa used to drive at one speed regardless of what the speed limit was. It was always 50. Eddie's got one volume. 11. Whether you're an inch away from him or, a mile. 11.
But, no, so we had a great time. We checked out the escape room. Mm-hmm. We did the Miskatonic.
If we'd had 5 more minutes, we'd have had that.
We had it narrowed down to, the last 4 people.
Right.
And it wasn't even it wasn't anybody.
Well, I didn't know himself was an option.
Neither
and see
did I.
that was part of why and see you're fiddling with the thing because I told you, I get. But
I'd rather fiddle with it.
Well, phrasing. It's part of why I wanted to bring him on and talk with him, but I was afraid that I would give it away. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, I didn't even think, and when we were in school, Scantron, you take your Scantron test, it's either all, if the option is either none of the above or all of the above, you always pick that one. Mm. And if I had been thinking, I'd known, well, he'd done it himself. If I'd have thought about it being an option, I'm like, well, then that's the answer. So we did a Scantron escape room. It was great, though. I enjoyed the crap out of it.
It was set for 5 people. Mm-hmm. We did it with 2 of us.
Right.
So they gave us an extra hint. We didn't even use the extra hint. Heck, we went through all of the last
15 minutes, and then you said, okay, well, let's get a hint.
I was like, oh, by the way, we have hints. He's like, well, take it whenever you want. And I was like, okay, hint. Now that I went through literally, I felt like I was cell searching, sort of throwing everything on the ground. I was boom, leafing through books and.
Yeah, we do an escape room in the future. I'm going to treat it like a shakedown, and I'm just going to go through and I'm not going to destroy nothing, but you don't destroy anything when you cell search, but you're not supposed to. But go through and just turn everything over,
Well, that's what it's like. Well, they said if it's bigger than whatever, then don't pick it up.
Right.
So they went through the long list of don't do's.
Yeah.
But I was still pulling all the drawers open, and anytime I found something that could remotely be, or that was a clue or whatever, it immediately went to the table.
Right.
And I just started in one corner and went around the entire thing.
Yeah. Well, and when we do a cell search, we always have a toolkit we take with us because we're taking shit apart. So I was trying to, okay, well, where would they think to hide stuff? So I'm trying to adapt to that to, normal people. I'm like, okay, there's no reason for me to take all these drawers out, turn them upside down, and check in the cracks to see if there's a false bottom and all. Yeah, so
right.
I don't need to do that, but maybe I do. So I'm going to handle it a little different the next time we do one.
But so yeah, like even some of the drawers were like nailed shut, or they removed the handles so you couldn't open them.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I found a key, I was opening the drawers that you weren't supposed to open.
Right.
Just to, okay, nothing in there.
Yeah.
But it went from, in a matter of like 5-10 minutes, once we've got the legs underneath us, that entire table became a mass of every single...
all the data we could find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether or not we figured out how to...
correlate it all.
Yeah.
You know, like what this stands for, And there was things, like we were looking at the globe, it had letters on it that were... if it had an O, then the O was traced to the highlighter or had a red marker around it. So I'm like, okay, so this is a code. Never occurred to me to follow the flight path of the plane around the globe, but okay, so we write down all the letters, and now I'm going through it. This is where the overthinking part, kind of comes back to bite you in the ass, because I'm like, okay, well, it could be this, could be this. Oh, this could be an anagram. This could, This makes no sense. Okay, hint. Oh, well, you just take the string and follow the flight path, and it'll go through a letter, and then you write that letter down. I'm like, okay, that was not what I was overthinking. But then, everybody's yelled at me before for
overthinking.
Overthinking, yeah, in general. And then when I put together a Cthulhu plot with prime numbers, people's heads explode.
Because nobody goes, that's overthinking.
Like, but it makes sense to me.
Because you spent 17 hours just sitting there thinking about how to do that.
Right.
And you throw somebody in there for 5 minutes and say, figure it out.
Good point.
I don't have a slide rule.
I didn't use a slide rule.
And an abacus.
I mean, Fair enough, though. Fair enough.
But we had a good time. We talked to friend of the show, Troy, the very vocal Viking. He came in and talked about riding and stuff. Lisa Meese from Starbase Indy. She popped in and was talking about Starbase Indy this year and promoted that a little bit. So we're looking forward to that. We were had fun remembering the almost video.
Yeah. I wish we'd have set that up, because that would have been pretty funny. Remember the can't, then I get tackled.
But what's it? We talked to Scott from. Did I get that right, or is it Brian?
Well, we talked to Brian on
air.
Yeah, I smoked with Scott, or not Scott. I smoked with Troy.
Right. And
Scott was the one running the game when we went to the demo.
I always get them mixed up. I don't know why. And I was like almost confident that time. I was like, it's the name that I don't normally, and it went to the name that I always say.
Right.
But we talked to Brian about InConJunction, his new role-playing game that he launched at InConJunction. It looks pretty interesting. We played the demo and had a good time. I killed things with vengeance.
Anytime a game gives me C4.
2 pounds of C4.
I mean, I could have used a satchel charge, but we'll go ahead and... A couple of pounds? Don't think I ain't dangerous with a couple of pounds of C4.
But it definitely was a fun game. It's one of those things that we picked it up, and if you can get out of your own way running it, I can see it being fun.
Yeah.
But it's the getting out of what you're used to doing, and whether you consider that how you run a game or just bad habits you picked up from running other games.
I think it'd be great for new DMs, because it kind of lays everything out, and it's easier for them to, if they don't have the bad habits like you and I have, because we were looking at some of it, and it's a fun game, but we were sitting there like from a DM standpoint, I'm like, this might kind of drive me nuts, or how do we work around, And then you have to take into account too the players you have. Like our group. When we were looking at the Magic system, we're like, they could break a game. Just knowing, just our group. But no, it was fun. It's a great game. You should pick it up and take a look at it. It's you bought a copy of it. They signed it for you, so we're going to incorporate it in.
I think it's really interesting though that they chose InConJunction to launch their game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went to the launch party, and then we demoed it the next day, and we talked to Brian on several occasions and got him on the air once. I spent pretty much the whole weekend. It seems like when one or the other of us went out to, like, if I went out to smoke, Troy would show up. If Troy was already out there smoking, then I showed up. It's like, I think we, much like how women sometimes get in sync, I think me and Troy synced into going and smoking. It was odd, but he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm. We talked live on air with Mark Rakup and Chuck Boudreau during our live show. Like I said, InConJunction has actually grown a little bit in the sense of it's 39 years. I mean, of course they've grown, but just in between last year and this year. Last year, the special events area, whatever, was just a screen with a table, and then and it was a smaller room.
Yeah, we had a stage this year.
Yeah, this year was like a stage with full-on lighting and all that stuff. So it was actually pretty neat. So it was like playing second stage.
Right. It helps when you open for Mikey Mason.
Right.
I don't think he knew we were opening for him, but...
Oh, I told him after, as he came in, I was like, oh, well, we got them all warmed up for you.
All right.
But it was a good show. I enjoyed the crap out of it. And we also talked to Mark Nash, who was in the Tube, and that was screened the day after.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty good guy. I don't know how the hell you guys come across him. Why does he hang out with you guys?
He is a pretty cool dude. He is way more helpful than some of the people that we've picked up in the past.
Yeah.
But he's also done 100 and some odd films, and he's got a ridiculous number of credits on his stuff, from everything from stuff down to Tampa with stuff down in Tampa with Joel Wynkoop, to playing opposite Dylan McDermott in a film that's on Hulu right now.
Yeah. And I recognize the name, but I couldn't picture the face.
Who?
Dylan McDermott.
Dark hair, kind of.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, just we have gone through this before. It's like, oh, you know him from this, you know him from that. I'm like, no, I don't.
No, I don't. I honestly don't.
I do recognize the name, so that's like a step up. He is on my radar somewhere. We don't have to figure out where, but much like the way we talked about John Larroquette last night. You're like, he played Dan Fielding. John Larroquette. He's like, yeah. He's like, he was also in. I'm like, I don't know him like that. I know him as Dan Fielding.
Yeah, he was also in the Librarians TV show.
I've never seen it. Yeah.
So basically, if they were on an '80s TV show,
I've seen them.
then just throw that out at you.
Right. The '80s were the last greatest decade.
So speaking of the
'90s wasn't too bad. But.
So speaking of that, then, did you see that the Hoff and Face from A-Team and all them have a new show?
No.
It's a something race of the '80s supercars or whatever. So you got
kidding.
Face and the Hoff and somebody else, and they're all racing, '80s.
Like the
I think it's the A-Team van versus Kit.
Okay,
versus,
what was the other car then?
I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Because because now I'm trying to figure it out.
Because if you tell me the show, I can probably tell you who the actor is. But no, I think we had a pretty good time down there. Well, we always have a good time when we go down there. You're still plugging away on.
Yeah.
I did finish Stranger Things while we were down there. Speaking of the 80s. Yeah.
And your thoughts?
I enjoyed it. It went pretty much. I mean, I enjoy the setting for them. Now, I'm not. I like the October setting better. The summer thing, it was alright. It was a change of pace. I think I prefer the October setting, just the time of the year, because fall's my favorite season anyway.
Right, because it's cool.
Yeah, yes. But I was okay with it. They had it around the 4th of July and all that, and adding Russians was a nice change of pace. It was because you can only well, I guess you don't want to flog a dead horse as far as like plot,
right?
So it was nice to see him change it a little bit. Pretty soon they're going to have to do something to progress a plot, like kind of change it up, keep it fresh. I don't know. They got one more season coming, right?
At least as far as they've got cleared for season 4.
But and I'm going to give a spoiler alert for like the next minute. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and
spoiler.
Yeah,
spoilers.
Here's your spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
I knew when my wife or my ex-wife had texted me when she finished watching it. Mm-hmm. She's like, "Well, I'll never watch another season again, even if they clear it." I'm like, "Okay." And then I was like, I texted her, I was like, "Okay." Well, she's like, and then like a minute after that, she's like, "Okay, well, maybe I will." She's like, "I just watched the after credit scene." I was like, "Okay, well then I know Hopper dies," because that's what it is. I'm like, as soon as she said, "I'll never watch another season," I was like, oh, "Shit, Hopper dies." And then she was like, "Well, okay, maybe I will." I'm like, "Okay," so they allude to him not being dead. I'm like, that's got to be what it is. And then I watched it, and I'm like, "Oh, of course." So the whole last episode, I'm like, "When's he going to die?" Oh, there it is. And then. And I had almost forgot there was an after credit scene, and it starts to roll credits. I'm like, then I went to back up, and I looked, I saw, I still had like 3 minutes. I was like, there's not 3 minutes of credits. Okay, let's wait. And then it does the things like, I'm like, oh, okay, so it alludes, he's all right. It's exactly what I thought it was. Mm. She was able to not give me spoilers for Endgame, but she couldn't hold on to not spoilers for Stranger Things. You know what? I'll take the trade-off.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a spoiler, but it was only because
Yeah.
She didn't just come out and say, "Hey, by the way, he dies."
Right? Yeah. She was like, "I'll never watch another episode." I'm like, I know that tone of voice. Ian, you can read it in text. I'm like, I know that tone exactly. She's all right. Well, Hopper's dead. Okay, maybe I will. All right. Well, he's not dead.
And the reasoning behind it, people thinking, well, one, because it tells you. That there's an American somewhere.
Yeah.
And doesn't show you who it is.
Right.
But it's at another breach site.
Right. It's in
Russia.
Kazakhstan or wherever. Yeah.
So having, it's completely possible that, he went through the thing
right.
and came out through another portal.
Right.
So is that good? Is it better without the?
It's not bad. It's I gotta get some regular creamer for the coffee though. I did not expect the cocoa.
But the so you finished watching
Yeah, I finished that a while back.
It's Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. What else have you started to?
Well, I went ahead and watched, and this week I've watched Lost in Space finally. Mm-hmm. You kept telling me about that, and I liked it.
You had the same irritation that I had.
On a fundamental level, I hate the Dr. Smith character. Like, on a fundamental level. Like, there's nothing about...
That's how I feel about Parker Posey in general.
Well, and she's probably a lovely gal, but she plays just the... I cuss on this, on here, but I don't want to breach that level of what I want to say, because that will keep us from being invited to stuff, but I suffice it to say, I loathe that character. She is probably a wonderful person, and as far as the actress, She's probably a wonderful person, and it's nothing against her, but she has just in that because she was the face of that. If that was what she was going for, she's the greatest actress I've ever seen. I mean, now I don't want anything to do with her, but she hit her mark.
Yeah, like I feel that way about most of her characters, though. That's the
Well, she always plays the characters that are like, you know, and again, I'm gonna dial it in,
but you know, like Blade Trinity.
Yeah,
Hated that character.
yeah.
Boston Legal, hated her character. There's several others that I really couldn't stand her character, but like, you know, Lost in Space, Boston Legal, and Blade Trinity.
Maybe
those are the three that just stand out in my mind.
I think part of what fundamentally just like irritates the shit out of me about Dr. Smith is that, you know, I spent 15 years working with the DOC, and I'm a pretty good judge of people, so motives generally are pretty close to see-through with me, and those lies were so obvious. I'm like, okay, in the future, people are ignorant, and it just, how do you not, you know, even when it's conveyed, it just doesn't seem sincere. But that's probably the difference between me and anybody else. You know, it's just I don't think it's convincing at all, but, you know, even if I didn't know, you know, if you didn't have like the fourth wall seeing what else she was doing, if somebody acted that way towards me, I'd be like, something's up with this bitch. I mean, it should set alarms off. And, you know, I don't know. This is part of where I got to rein it in before I go on a spiel. And it's like, she done a great job. If that's what she was shooting for, it irritates the shit out of me. You know.
So you started watching Discovery too?
Yeah, I started watching Social Justice Trek.
Well, that's what Trek was back in with TOS too.
Not really, but
whatever.
No, don't start that.
They were talking about that in the 80s when they were doing this stuff. How it was so progressive for its time.
I guess I can kind of see how that comparison could be drawn. I guess. I mean, I'll give you that. I'll go ahead and give you that. But I have a problem when there are holes in established canon big enough that they have disregarded that you can drive a truck through, or, you know, a starship.
And it is in the same universe as the movies,
right? Because when it takes place, because the event, well, the event you're talking about, the Prime timeline, right?
Wherever it's.
Because it's my understanding that the event... Okay, well, yeah, the original Kelvin event would have taken place before Discovery. But I don't know. I'm going to have to finish both seasons before I can hammer it down. I know I know what has happened has not altered the way like astronomical units are measured, things like that. So there are some fundamental. Yeah. Oh, I should stop there. I have some issues with it.
But you're also only like
I'm 4 episodes in
to a 15 episode
which
season.
You told me, you're like, you know, oh well, you know, I started watching. He goes, you know, I watched the first episode, and after the first episode, the only character I liked had you know, been convicted of mutiny and was spending a life in prison. I'm like, okay. Who's that? And then I watched the first episode. I'm like, really? That was his favorite character?
It was the only one I really like. You know, everything else seemed. I don't know. I did like Doug Jones' character.
I
You call him Prey.
Oh yeah, okay. The guy with the gills in the back of his head or whatever. Yeah,
Doug Jones will never I think he's only been on screen as himself like once or twice.
Yeah.
Like he's always the big, tall, lanky alien.
See, I really enjoy like that right off the bat. That was my favorite character, and like really honestly the only one I kind of half-ass cared about. Now I did like the Admiral that was in the first episode that didn't last past the first episode. I'm like, okay, this is what you expect from like a Starfleet Admiral, and now he's gone. But he went out like a trooper, So this is what you expect. So at least there's some throwbacks here, some I don't know what the word is. At least they're portraying what they should be.
Season 2, when you get into Season 2, you start seeing the basis for what Starfleet should be.
Well, I'm going to tell you,
and that's actually pointed out. Like you are the example of what we should be, and so Season 2, like Season 1, there's a lot of people complaining. Season 2, a lot of the complaints started to die away as it seemed to rein it down into.
Right, it's the same thing that happened with Enterprise, except it took Enterprise like 3 seasons or 2 or 3 seasons before they're like, okay, we got to fix this. And then they started fixing shit, by the 4th season. So by the time the 4th season was over with, the series was in, and we're like, no, wait, you should totally do one more season and at least, have a good full run as the precursor. But I liked Enterprise. It had its issues. But I would have liked seen them do another couple of seasons just to see to realize what it should have been. That, it took them a while to get into. But people also shit on Deep Space Nine, and that was honestly my favorite one out of all of them. So that darker aspect I do like about Discovery, but
because you're in the middle of like you just watched the war kick off,
right?
You haven't even got into the war yet.
Now my problem with your favorite character is I'm like, okay, nobody's that important.
Well, like I said, that gets explained actually at the end of the season.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Right before you find out all
ahead.
the season or all the secrets and whatnot.
Well, I moved ahead to not really moved ahead, but you can go through and look and read the little blurb about what each episode's about. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the Mirror Universe again. Well, usually that waits a season before we start delving into that. But if we want to, support our own show, or if we want to support the show doing this, all right, whatever. We'll see how this goes. I'm like.
It actually weighs heavily on the whole first season.
Right.
Like
I say, I'm only 4 episodes in. I went into it thinking I wasn't going to like it, so I'm probably skewed a little bit. We'll see after I've watched both seasons, then we'll talk about it again. But right now, I can handle it. I'm okay with it if I don't consider it a Star Trek show, which is hard to do when they've got all the stuff there. I'm like. I like whatever Doug's character's name is, the one I've been calling Prey because
he is a prey species.
Yeah, he's like the only one. I'm like, okay, it's the only character that I enjoyed his wit and and really it's not wit. It's just like he's brutally honest and blunt about shit like I am. So I'm like, I get that guy. That's okay. And like the looks on some of the people's faces when he says something, they're like. Hey, how long you been around this dude and you still don't know how to take him? But I see those looks too, so fair enough.
I don't know. I did kind of like the cadet.
The cadet. Oh, that bubbly redhead.
Yeah.
She's only been in a couple of episodes. Of course, I'm only into like 3.
Like when she comes sits down and she's like, oh, I got a roommate. Nobody. Like, and she goes, yeah. Well,
that's the level of bubbly you want to take somebody and drive a nail through the wall. And stay there. Just give me a moment.
It's like, oh, and I have a thing. Yada yada yada. Oh, you're not so and so. I've never heard of your name. Whatever.
And she looks at her. Yeah, that was.
and she's like, oh, you're not the one who got arrested for treason, are you? Or mutiny.
Yeah. There's been some moments that I've chuckled at, and that was one of them.
And I do like the idea of the seed thing. The
panspermia.
the seed drive.
Yeah.
It does give them a way to explain stuff, and they dovetail it to where nobody else can use it.
We'll see how it goes. But when they were explaining, I wanted to bang my head into a wall. Well,
That's actually closer to the science. Some of the quantum science that's coming out.
It's fine,
so.
but you have to follow. They have taken some liberties. they have taken some liberties, and
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson is their science advisor.
yeah.
Not really. I made that up, but it wouldn't surprise me.
No, it actually might make sense then. I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, when you're doing a show, sure you want it kind of realistic, but there's also an entertainment value, and I don't need everything to be hard sci-fi. Sometimes I like, oh, that'd be kind of neat. It never happened, but it'd be kind of neat. Which is, I think, why people enjoyed Star Trek to begin with. It's the whole idea, and then I'm not going to shit on the fandom or anything, but I enjoyed it. And I enjoy it, but it's also, we're never going to be at that point. It's never going to happen because people can't get along enough with each other to,
right. I don't know. I think if you do like the 9/11 thing, like if aliens come in and attack us,
well, and see,
I think
that's different.
that would be the solidifying.
Well, that's different because it would aliens coming into attack would facilitate one of the major things that needs to happen before people will unite and come together and all that. Because we need another plague. I mean, it just. But I don't want to go too far on that. That's just.
Well, I mean, if you look at technology-wise, there's a lot of technology that actually came from. It's here because people grew up who
watching
invented it.
Yeah.
Cell phones.
Right.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool? And when you interview the guys who worked on it in the early 80s and whatnot, and like late 70s, early 80s, and we're like, oh no, like that, we totally watched that, and that's what we wanted to do.
Well, and you've got people right now that are working on transporters, that actually, I mean, on the molecular level, they've transported stuff. Now the molecular level's a whole lot different than a solid mass. But when you're,
building, it's building blocks. You one piece at a time.
Right, but at what point, because the great debate is, if you get on transporter pad to go from point A to point B, you are disassembled on point A and reassembled on point B. Are you the same person? Because you've technically been disintegrated.
Right. And in that what?
So you end here, and then something else begins here.
Well, isn't that what Bones was? Never liked him.
Well. It's probably part of it, but I think just like I relate to McCoy more than anybody else. Like, I'm like, I don't trust that shit. It.
I say because that was one of the things that Bones had said was I don't trust that.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway.
He was a crotchety old guy anyway.
Yeah. So am I.
Yeah. I want to say so you fit
right. I tell you, when they rebooted the movies, I enjoyed the new timeline stuff, the Abrams verse or whatever. Out of everybody, and they all done a superb job, but the best,
Carl Urban,
they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, like
I was like,
speech,
okay,
mannerisms.
Yeah,
like it was
like you can see character development. Like, okay,
he went to school on that character.
Yeah, I'm like. That hands down my favorite character, and I would say that Scotty's overall my favorite character, but man, Carl Urban nailed it, and I'm like, for a guy that DeForest Kelley left us in the '90s, and he never, Carl Urban never had the chance to
actually meet him.
Yeah, and he.
Like I said, he had to go to school on that character.
Well, he blew the other actors out of the park. So where you hear Kevin Smith say he would cast Ben Affleck for anything, I would cast Carl Urban for anything because the guy can do it.
No, like and Dredd.
Yeah, And I wasn't so sure about Dredd. You know, Sylvester Stallone to me is always going to kind of be Judge Dredd. But that, you know, it was also a cheesy, you know. But as far as like the grittier, like the comic was, Karl Urban nailed it. Mm-hmm. You know,
there's like I can't think of anything. Honestly, there's not a car when he's in a film that he doesn't nail that character.
Yeah.
I mean, not off the top of my head, anyway.
Right.
I mean, even in Doom, as cheesy as Doom was, it was still like when you did like the first person whatever, and you seen him with the gun and whatnot. Like it was like, okay, that's all right.
Yeah,
I can see that. But so, is there anything else that you watched now that we spent like 20 minutes dissecting the first 4 episodes?
Well, you know, like I say, I finished Stranger Things. I watched Lost in Space. Started watching Discovery. Shit, I watched a movie the other day. What did I watch? I watched the Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah, we started that here.
Yeah,
we started that here.
Yeah, we started watching it here, and then I wound up finishing it at the house. I'm trying to think of... Did we talk about that before? Mm-mm. We didn't talk about that last week. I'm trying to think of when I actually finished watching. I think I watched it this week since we've been back.
Because we talked to Crash. That was when you brought it up.
That's right. But I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what to expect because I never really watched any anime or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, well, you know, it's different. And then I started watching it, and I was like, okay, I kind of... By the end of it, I'm like, I wanted more. So I hope they do a sequel. I'm like, I could watch a couple more movies like this as long as they don't pull like what RoboCop did, and the second one be, and the third one being like, we don't acknowledge its existence. It didn't happen.
Or the remake.
Right. No, the remake wasn't bad. Did you watch? You watched the RoboCop remake? I thought it was okay. It was. I think it was in the same vein as the original. It was as far. It's just, you know, the times, the times these days. You know, I was okay with it.
Because that came out like right around the same time as the Total Recall remake,
and I have not seen that. But
they with the Total Recall thing, they got rid of like the whole Mars thing.
Yeah,
and it's basically colonies on the opposite side of the planet.
Yeah. But I liked the RoboCop remake because of the premise. You know, like, well, he doesn't actually have control; he has the illusion of control. Like, I see what you did there. Nice. Yeah. And then I enjoyed the scene where, you know, he's like, "Okay, well, show me what's left of me. All right, now put me back together and promise me nobody else will ever see that again." Well, that's what you are, bud.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I liked it.
And it had, like I said, the guy who played that has been in a lot of stuff recently.
Yeah.
That you look at him and you're like, holy crap! Like that's the same guy. Because he also was in Altered Carbon.
Yeah. He
was in The Missing or whatever the thing with where he played the druggy cop. He was also in another. He played Flag in Suicide Squad.
Okay.
That's all the same actor.
I don't even know who the actor was.
I don't know his name. I just, like I said, I see him in.
I liked RoboCop. That was it. I mean, let's see. I think it's something else I've watched, but I think that's pretty much been it. I was thinking about maybe going and seeing Spider-Man: Far From Home. I have not committed to that yet.
It's not bad.
No, you went and saw it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I may have to watch it. But,
it definitely... You can tell where they said it was. It's the end of the phase. Like, it's the bridge between phases.
Yeah. That's good. But,
no, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say that I had to go back and finish watching Night Flyers. There's a Night Flyer. Sci-Fi Channel's George R. Martin's a take on George R. Martin's novella about...
Isn't it vampires or something?
No.
Oh, well.
That was Stephen King's The Night Flyer.
Oh.
No, this is like in space, and the ship's called the Night Flyer, and they're going out to find an alien.
Sounds like a ship that should be full of hookers. That's what it sounds like to me.
But it has some like cool stuff. It has telekinetic stuff, and it goes into like how those that have what do they call them, TK abilities or whatever,
Telekinetic.
are like banned and like put in special places to protect people from them.
Right.
Because if they go off, like, they can cause people to kill themselves, and the whole night, like get in people's heads and like totally mess. And so like they're in special containment places.
That reminds me, I did finish the Umbrella Academy.
That's a good one. I liked it.
I enjoyed it. It's like a dysfunctional X-Men, so I'm all right with it.
It's like Teen Titans when they get older.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been doing this for 30 years. Dude, you're only like 35. I know.
But no, it was the whole getting inside somebody's head thing. It just reminded me of the fact that, one of the girls was a rumor monger. Shocker. I had to say it. It's like Mean Girls or whatever. So what else we got coming up?
We have Gen Con coming up 18 days.
Oh, that's right. We got Gen Con coming.
Literally, we're at 18 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a hard call beginning of next week.
Why? Hard call.
Oh yeah, got a couple people that are supposed to be getting back with us. We may have to shift our focus for our show because people don't like to commit. Apparently, they're folks that have commitment issues.
That's fine because we do have the
invitation.
No,
for the film festival.
Chuck Boudreau actually confirmed.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he will be there talking about, because we're right above the Gen Con Film Festival this year for our hall. So we're Ballroom 4 in the Western.
I did not realize that. Yeah, we're going to be right above the film festival. Maybe we should just cover the film festival.
Yeah, and that's what Chuck said. He's going to direct some filmmakers over with us, and he's going to come up and talk about the festival, and we're going to talk to some filmmakers, and so if we're going to do what we normally do, talk about the con, talk about the stuff we've seen, and who's in attendance and who whatever. But since some of the other game companies have not gotten back with us, or
there were some scheduling conflicts on a couple, I believe.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's a lot better for me to know that now than to know 5 minutes before we're supposed to go live.
Right. Well, when they came, literally, he just came out and said, we're short-staffed, so I'm not sure I can make it.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And it's perfectly acceptable. If you have a reason. It's when you don't have.
But
a
he
reason.
also left it open, saying, "Hey, if we can get more volunteers, then he'll have time."
Yeah.
But but all the films, like the film festival stuff, have all sold out. So
and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, and nobody talks to the filmmakers either. Mm-hmm. So screw it.
Yeah. Might as well.
This is an area that like people seem to avoid.
Right.
But it's also one of the areas that sells out the quickest.
Right.
Like, there are no tickets left to any of the films. and that thing runs like 18 hours a day for 4 days.
Yeah.
And there's nothing.
Well, we'd done a preview day, or what would that be? That'd be
What,
screening. Yeah, we screened a movie at InConJunction.
Yeah.
With Rutledge.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And the people who came in and watched that screening liked it.
Yeah.
By the end of it, they were all smiles and
well, the last thing they see on the screen is Don farting. The blooper reel.
I threw that in because it makes Don go.
Right. Don't piss off your editor.
But it was a good time this past weekend. We have, like I said, more stuff coming up with Gen Con.
We got invited to another one, too.
Yeah.
Louisville conglomeration.
Yeah, and
Easter
that's
weekend
Easter weekend of next year.
Yeah, next year.
Definitely going to try to make that. Starbase Indy, Thanksgiving. So, we're on the move. Hopefully we can hit a few more. I would totally love to have made Concoction this year, but
Yes.
Unfortunately, we were both. You had the father-daughter thing,
Yeah.
and then I was stuck working on film stuff. So, unfortunately, that's how that fell. But there's always next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But on that note, we are going to step away. This is Geek Public Radio. Still exhausted from the weekend, but you know what? It'll all get better. We had a great time.
Yeah.
I'm Topher.
Lil Sonny.
And we will see you guys next time.